Hello and welcome to the Roice-Hurst Humane Society at Delta Level 2 class for volunteers. Thank you so much for giving your time to our pets here at the shelter. Our volunteers are vital in helping our dogs get enough exercise and enrichment during their stay with us. If you're a new volunteer and haven't already watched the Delta Volunteer Orientation video, please do that first before moving on to this training. It's linked in the description of this video. If you're interested in volunteering at our Grand Junction location, not Delta, please watch the Grand Junction series of videos instead. My name is Jenna Kretschmann, and I'm the Volunteer and Foster Coordinator at Roice-Hurst Humane Society. You can contact me at the contact information on the screen. This video will teach you about dog behavior and body language and set you up with the basic knowledge to be successful as a V-2 volunteer. After you complete this video, you will need to take the quiz linked in the description of the video and then email me to schedule a time to walk a dog with me so that I can show you proper techniques and where the supplies are located. Thursdays work best for me as that's when I'm on site at our Delta location. After that, you're an official V2 dog volunteer. You'll need to maintain at least 4 hours per month of V2 duties to keep your V2 status. Here is the V2 volunteer slide from the volunteer orientation, which outlines what you can do as a V2 volunteer. We ask that you continue working on V1 tasks like cleaning, but as a V2 you'll also be able to do animal care tasks like walking dogs or playing with cats, handling pets at adoption events, and assisting with post-surgical animal recovery on the mobile unit during surgery days. The first section of this video will focus on dogs as that is our main population that we care for. We do occasionally house cats at this location, but very rarely. As I mentioned in the volunteer orientation video, this Delta satellite facility is a stray and impound shelter, so we house stray and impounded dogs for the city and county of Delta. Cats are allowed to free roam in Delta, so we rarely take in cats here. I do want to mention that you'll hear my voice change in this video, and that's because it was originally recorded by our previous volunteer coordinator. Alright, now let's get started talking about dog body language.
So we're going to talk a little bit about different kinds of body languages you can see in the shelter. Every dog has its own demeanor. Most of what you learn from a dog's body language is going to be seen in their head and their face. So where is their head positioned? Can you see the whites of their eyes? Is their teeth showing? Are their lips pursed? Where are their ears and their eyebrows positioned? From there, you'll want to confirm the signals you receive from their head by comparing with the rest of their body, places like their neck, their shoulder, torso, stance, where their tail's positioned. As you can see, we have two very different body language types pictured. The black dog up top, her name is Bella. She is super wiggly, she's playful in this picture. We see her tail is up, her ears are forward, her tongue is sticking out. You can also see she's in the traditional play bow position. To the left of her is a dog we have named Mark. This picture was taken the first day that he came to Roice-Hurst, and as you can see, he looks pretty timid. He's lowered to the ground, his tail's tucked, his ears are back. You can see the whites of his eyes. These two dogs are giving off very different body language, so we'll talk more in depth about these signals individually. Signals of aggression are really important to take note of. We will talk about different types of aggression in a bit, but this is a simplistic progression of different signals that you could see that might lead to a dog bite. As you can see, it can take a lot of actions to get a dog to bite, but some actions are really minor, so make sure you're always watching the body language of the dog that you're interacting with really carefully. It also isn't always going to be this black and white. Every dog is different. There may be different actions that they perform, but if you see a dog is continuing to move up this metaphorical ladder, it's time to leave that dog alone and report what you saw. So, first, you may see the dog is trying to leave the situation. They may give you an appeasement behavior, things such as avoiding eye contact with you or lowering themselves to the ground. You may see conflict behaviors as well, such as vocalizing or rolling over. Later, we may see more concerning behaviors, a lip lift, a growl, a hard stare, or a dog freezing. From there, a dog may snap or even bite. All of these signals are really important to take note of, so watch these behaviors carefully. Now for a note on aggression versus arousal. Arousal occurs when a dog is in an intense emotional state. There are many ways a dog can be aroused. This does include aggression, but there are other emotions that could be occurring. A dog may be very excited. They may be very fearful. When a dog is aroused, their actions will be very exaggerated. So when you see an aroused dog, regardless of the emotion behind it, you may see the following attributes. Their eyes will likely dilate. Their fur will piloerect, meaning it'll stand up straighter. This is often seen in a dog's neck and right above their tail. You'll also likely see an increase in respiration. There are multiple types of aggression we're going to talk about. The first is offensive or confident aggression. This is a dog's way of saying, I dare you to come closer. Different signals you see with this type of aggression are that their ears are forward, their head is up high, they maintain eye contact. Usually this will be in the form of a hard stare. They will carry their body weight forward, their tail will be high in the air, you may see a stiff wag. Their lips will be pursed, so you can only see the front teeth showing. This is the type of aggression that will cause a dog to bite and not let go. On the other side of things, dogs can also show defensive or fearful aggression. This is a dog's way of saying, leave me alone. You'll see a dog with their ears back, their head will be low. They may avoid making eye contact, or maybe you can see the whites of their eyes. Their body weight is lowered, almost like they're trying to make themselves as small as possible. You'll see a low tail, often it will be tucked. All their teeth can be seen. This is the type of aggression that will cause a dog to snap at what they're fearful of and run away. When situations are more ambivalent, you may see other conflict behaviors too. These are different from conflict aggression behaviors. This is just a way that a dog is saying, I'm uncomfortable or I'm not sure what to do about this situation. They can turn into aggression if a dog is progressively feeling less comfortable. So please look at all these behaviors. I'll only go over a couple here. The first I want to mention is the play bow. A lot of times people will assume that if their dog play bows that they're really friendly and that they're just wanting to play. This behavior is actually considered conflictual. So same goes for rolling over. If a dog rolls over, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to want a belly rub. This could be telling you that they're uncomfortable. So look at the rest of their body. If they're stiffed or if they can't make eye contact, please don't give them a belly rub. Smiling can also be conflictual, especially if it's paired with a set of closed eyes. So look out for all those conflict behaviors when you're working with dogs at our shelter. Fear in dogs is not uncommon in a shelter setting. At Roice-Hurst, we are always trying to make the dogs here as comfortable as possible, but no matter how much we do for a dog, there are things we can't avoid here. For example, this is a new setting for all the dogs that come in, which is intimidating enough. Pair that with many barking dogs, a kennel type that they likely haven't seen before, and only strangers around. It can be scary, especially for newcomers. Dogs may feel intimidated enough to go into a fight or flight response. They might try to snap or bite to ward away, or they may try and run and cower in the corner. The choice they make depends on a mixture of both genetics and learned behavior. After they make this choice of fight or flight, it usually takes 20 to 30 minutes for them to start calming down. We want to respect the space of our fearful dogs. The best practice our staff and volunteers can assist with is preventing fear in the first place. This includes things like providing all the resources that they need. We also discourage a lot of traffic in the kennel area for this reason. It can be incredibly stressful on a dog to constantly see strangers going to and from the kennel area. This is why potential adopters are not allowed to go back there. We have a much higher rate of successful adoptions by showing a dog outside of its kennel. Lastly, we want to remember that the environment is not perceived through words with dogs. Rather, it's what they pick up through their senses, whether that's visual, audible, or olfactory. There are a range of different fear-based behaviors you may see in the shelter. This doesn't include everything, but this is just so you get the idea. Look at all of these carefully. Again, we see rolling over as being based in fear, so please look at that entire body language of a dog before giving it a belly rub. Another one I wanted to take note of is whether a dog wants treats or not. Many dogs you see in the shelter will be food motivated. If you own a dog or have owned a dog in the past, you'll likely see food motivation as well. Not all dogs are food motivated, but if you see a dog with lots of fearful behaviors and they won't even take a treat, it's likely that they are incredibly fearful. While at the shelter, you may see frustration as well. Frustration in dogs occurs when dogs are motivated to perform behavior without having an appropriate outlet. So, this results in being aroused, having lack of impulse control, being really jumpy or mouthy. If they're behind a kennel, they may try to charge or bite at the kennel door. We see this commonly in working or herding breeds, so you'll see this a lot in German Shepherds, Aussies, Rottweilers, and Terriers. This does include Pit Bull Terriers, which are commonly seen at Roice-Hurst. Also, it's really important to understand that frustration pairs with a dog's threshold. Sometimes you'll see that a dog is reaching its threshold, particularly when it's about to exit its kennel. Dogs get so aroused and hyperactive that it's very difficult for a dog to control itself. Asking a dog to sit or stay when it's in this heightened state can be incredibly difficult. As a Roice-Hurst volunteer, you'll likely come across those who are barrier aggressive. Barrier aggression is barking, jumping, growling, lunging, or rushing a gated door, fence, or on a leash. Dogs do this for many reasons. Sometimes they're territorial and are attempting to warn whoever's getting too close. Other times it might be out of excitement. They may also be frustrated about being incapable of getting to something outside of their barrier. If you're walking past a dog in a kennel, we want to remember to reward good behavior and ignore bad behavior. This means that if a dog is barking incessantly at you, just walk past like you didn't hear them. If they're up front, quietly sitting, feel free to throw a treat their way. Just like I was mentioning with the law of effect, this is how we can improve the adaptability of the dogs in our care. Barrier aggression can be seen between dogs. If you're walking a dog past another dog in an outdoor kennel, keep an exaggerated distance between those two dogs. Make sure you're holding the dog further away from the kennel dog. Never let dogs interact unless expressly given permission from the dog behavior counselor. And lastly, just be aware of your surroundings to avoid that barrier aggression in the first place.
We take a lot of precautions to keep dog fights from happening, but it still does occur on rare occasions. The best thing that we can do is prevent dog fights from happening in the first place. Please follow these rules to help prevent a dog fight from occurring. Number 1. Do not allow two dogs to interact without permission and direct supervision of a staff member, even if the dogs are on leashes or one is behind a fence. Number 2. While handling a dog, steer clear of other dogs, even if you think the dog is friendly. Number 3. While walking a dog, stay aware of your surroundings and take note of any other dogs around you. Please keep your distance and stay vigilant of dog body language. Number 4. Before taking a dog into the gated play yard, first check to make sure there aren't any other dogs in the area. Dogs are not allowed anywhere except the gated play yard and their kennels. Sometimes dogs will get aggressive with each other before a fight has begun. In order to prevent a fight from starting, you can pull your leash straight up to restrict contact with another dog. You can also allow for distraction through things like finding a water source like a water bowl, hose, or water bottle, whichever is most accessible, and pouring it onto the dogs. You can also scream, clap, or make another loud noise. If a dog fight has broken out, here are the actions you'll need to take. First, get yourself to a safe distance away from the fight. Know that your safety is most important. Get help from a staff member and please stay calm. Do not try to break up a dog fight with your hands. I do want to note that injury is not covered as a volunteer, so please do not put yourself in harm's way. If you feel comfortable trying to break up the fight yourself, do not stick your hands in it, and instead try to throw water on the dogs, make loud noises, or throw a large blanket over the dogs to get them to stop fighting.
So now we'll talk a little bit about the law of effect. There's 3 different rules here that kind of follow the same principle. Dogs are always learning, whether we mean to be teaching or not. So the first one is a behavior resulting in pleasant consequence increases frequency. An example of this can be found in scenario 1. So let's say you've taught a dog how to sit and you treat them as soon as they sit. That pleasant consequence of a treat will make them want to sit every time that they're asked to. The second one, behavior resulting in no consequence, is weakened. We'll see in scenario 2 that there's a dog behind a kennel that's barking. If we give no attention or consequence to that dog while they're barking, they'll learn that they're not getting anything and that behavior is less likely to occur in the future. Lastly, behavior resulting in unpleasant consequence decreases frequency. So for scenario 3, let's say we have a dog who used to behave by approaching people, and maybe he had an owner in the past that abused him. He's much less likely to trust anyone who approaches him with an open hand. So it doesn't matter whether people see the consequence as pleasant or unpleasant. It matters how the dog views it. As a dog volunteer of Roice-Hurst Humane Society, you're helping each dog maintain the 5 freedoms that we promise every animal that we let into our doors. We also require adopters to sign a contract promising to continue giving these 5 freedoms to animals adopted out of Roice-Hurst. So we promised freedom from hunger and thirst, freedom from discomfort, freedom from pain, injury, and disease, freedom to express normal behavior. The only thing that this doesn't include is that we are required to have each dog spayed or neutered before exiting the building, as we don't want an adoption to result in breeding. Lastly, we have freedom from fear and distress. Without these freedoms, a dog will have stress. Stress and adoptability are inversely correlated. So we see this time and time again, as a dog is more likely to get adopted out quicker if they are confident and stress-free. In order to keep the shelter environment as stress-free as possible, we can change the environment to ensure that dogs are getting optimal indoor-outdoor time. We can control the amount of space each dog gets to a degree of the extent of space we have at our kennels. We can also change how much noise and traffic goes in and out of the kennel area. We can also maintain enrichment for dogs. We love to do lots of activities to stimulate the mind for each dog. Social interaction is immensely important. Each of our dogs needs lots of contact with people on a daily basis. This will only further encourage socialization. And lastly, we can provide exercise. We want each of our dogs to have 3 walks or related activities every single day. All of these environmental factors are used for the benefit of keeping each dog as stress-free as possible during their time here.
When you come in to walk a dog, first sign in and then head back to the kennels. Grab some treats and a leash. Treats are located above the food prep area in the hallway, and leashes are right inside the kennel area. If you have any questions about any particular dogs, please ask a staff member. It's important that you read the dog's kennel card, which I'll talk about in just a second, and only walk dogs who are marked V-2. This is a kennel card. Each dog will have one of these hanging on their kennels. This card will give you important information about the dog, such as their name if they have one, where they came from, and when they'll be coming off of stray hold. Please be sure to read the notes section at the bottom of this, as it may contain important behavior information. The dog's volunteer level will be written at the bottom of the kennel card. When it comes to leashes, there are 3 types that you'll most commonly see at the shelter. A slip leash is a leash that forms a loop around a dog's head, so the leash acts as both the collar and the leash. This type of leash is very easy to take on and off. The next type of leash you'll see is a clip leash. This type of leash can be used on dogs who came in with their collars on. You'll just clip the leash onto the metal ring on the dog's collar. And lastly, some dogs will have harnesses. Harnesses are used for small dogs who have little necks or dogs who pull on the leash. Here's what a successful dog walk looks like. You begin by learning about the dog, putting treats in your pocket, and putting the leash on correctly. You're aware of what's happening around you. You're using both hands to hold the leash and have it in thumb lock position, which you'll learn about during the in-person portion of this training. You're using caution around other people and dogs. You're giving positive reinforcement when the dog behaves well, and you report any concerns to a staff member after the walk.
We have several commands we use to improve behavior at our shelter. We use good when a dog is doing the right thing. We use if a dog is doing the wrong thing. Using this phrase is a lot less harsh than saying no. When we say no, the body language that's paired with that can be degrading or even intimidating. If we use then we can redirect the dog to do something good a lot quicker. Wait is used if we want the dog to wait for their handler. Off is shown capitalized because we want you to be more stern with this term. This will tell a dog to get off something, especially if they're trying to jump on or toward you. Leave it is used if a dog needs to leave an object alone that they're reaching for. Find it is used usually to distract a dog. I've talked about the importance of hot dogs before. In times where a dog sees another dog or is keeping a person from exiting a kennel, we can scatter feed hot dogs or similar treats and tell the dog to find it. This will often distract a dog from becoming reactive or controlling over the situation. Sit is very mannerly. Have your dog sit if you need to pause on a walk or if you're about to give them treats. Look means to make eye contact. Lastly, stay is used when you want the dog to remain still when you're moving away from them. Many of the dogs in our shelter need a lot of training on these commands, so consistency of verbiage is key.
We rarely have cats at the Delta facility, but as a V-2, you are allowed to interact with any cats that do stay with us. Next are some cat basics. Just like when you're meeting a new human, the polite thing to do when meeting a cat is to say hello. Cats greet each other nose to nose, so the best way to introduce yourself to a cat is to offer your hand to them. The way we do this is to make a fist with your middle knuckle sticking out to simulate the shape of a cat's face, and allow them to sniff you, like in the picture. If the cat is receptive to you and wants you to pet them, they may present their head to you or rub on you to continue that interaction. If the cat does not want to be petted, don't pet them. Cats are big on boundaries, and forcing a cat to do something that they don't want to do is how you lose their trust and regress their behavior. If a cat doesn't want to be petted, you might want to try offering a toy to them instead. Another way to introduce yourself to a cat is to present the end of your glasses, the part that goes around your ear, to the cat so that they can sniff your scent. Petting a cat may seem straightforward, but it can be a little more complicated than you think. All cats are different, but here are some general tips. First, beware of overstimulation. When you pet a cat, you're adding energy into their bubble. After a while, that bubble will pop and they may try to bite or scratch. This is what we call petting-induced aggression. You'll know a cat is getting overstimulated by watching their body language. Like I said, we'll talk about body language more in depth in a few minutes, but here are a couple things to pay attention to. A swishing tail, vocalization, or claws coming out means that the cat may be reaching threshold. When this happens, stop petting the cat and offer a toy instead. Like I mentioned earlier, it's important to go slow and meet the cat where they are. Because some cats are learning to trust humans, you can offer pets, but don't force them. Be sure to make your interactions positive. A great way to do this is to reinforce brave or friendly behavior with treats. You want every cat to leave your interactions feeling a little more confident around people. Remember that every cat is different, but in general, most cats enjoy pets behind their ears, under their chin, down their back, and at the base of their tail. As a rule of thumb, don't rub the cat's bellies. Your cat at home might like it, but many shelter cats are unknown to you and may react differently. Cats expose their abdomens as a sign of trust, because it's the most vulnerable part of their body. By petting their bellies, you could be betraying their trust. Here's a list of the different types of feline aggression. The ones in bold are the most common that you may experience, so we'll just talk about those types. First is fear aggression, which is when a cat is scared and becomes defensive. You may see the cat hiss, spit, or lunge. A cat like this does not trust humans at all and needs significant behavior work. If you're ever uncomfortable working with a cat or you believe the cat needs more behavior work, please let a staff member know. Next is petting-induced aggression, which we talked about earlier. Sometimes cats become overstimulated and will direct their energy into scratching or biting you. Like I said, be sure to watch their body language and either stop petting them or offer a toy. Next is play or predatory aggression, which you'll see when a cat plays with a toy. As predators, cats have a natural instinct to hunt. We'll talk more about how cats play in just a couple slides. If a cat doesn't get enough playtime, you might see this type of aggression directed at you in the form of a cat biting at your hands or feet. Now let's talk about the cycle of the feline. Cats naturally go through this process several times throughout the day, which is hunt, eat, groom, sleep. Cats are predators and have an instinct to hunt and kill. For our domesticated cats, this instinct should be satisfied through playtime. After a satisfying play session, it's mealtime. In the wild, cats will hunt and then eat their prey. In our case, this is treats or a meal. Next, the cat needs to wash up after eating by grooming, which relaxes them and puts them back to sleep, and the cycle starts again. This cycle is the recipe to creating a happy, fulfilled cat. Interactive play is an important part of a cat's physical and mental health. Remember, to satisfy this hunting instinct, the cat needs to catch the toy. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to spend all your energy hunting and not get the satisfaction of catching it? Here are some of the reasons why interactive play is so important. First, it reduces unwanted behaviors. Cats have an instinct to hunt whether you play with them or not. So if they don't have an appropriate outlet for that energy, they'll start hunting you or other cats, potentially leading to things like cat fights or the cat attacking your hands or feet. Next, it boosts confidence. Catching prey makes a cat feel like they're on top of the world. It's an outlet for excess energy and it reduces stress. And like we talked about earlier, it maintains the natural cycle of the cat. Hunt, eat, groom, sleep. And lastly, it helps strengthen the bond between humans and cat, which is what we're all about. And while we're on the topic of appropriate outlets for energy, here's something to avoid doing. Never use your hands or feet to play with a kitten or cat. Instead, always use an appropriate toy. If they pick up the habit of attacking your hands or feet, it can make them less adoptable. Now let's move on to cat body language. What I'll be showing you today is a basic version of a cat's body language. A cat's whole body, from their head to their tail, works in unison to show you how they're feeling. But in general, I'll teach you a few things to watch out for. First, let's talk about tails. Don't read cats like you would read dogs. A wagging tail on a cat is a sign of overstimulation or agitation. If a cat is swishing their tail, they might be getting ready to attack. If you're petting a cat with a swishing tail, leave them alone or give them something else to attack, like a toy. A cat's tail will show you how confident they're feeling at the time. An erect tail means that a cat could be feeling confident, explorative, happy, or excited. As the tail moves down a little bit, so does the cat's confidence. A flat tail could mean the cat is feeling apprehensive, guarded, or cautious. And as the tail moves down even lower, the cat may be getting scared about something happening around him. A tucked tail means that the cat is not happy at all and is a sign of fear. A fluffed out tail is also a sign of fear, but more defensive. They're puffing up to show you how big and tough they are. Next, let's talk about the cat's face. The main things you'll want to watch for are their ears, eyes, and whiskers. There are small, subtle differences in a cat's facial positioning that can give away how they're feeling. You'll notice this happy cat has his ears forward and a relaxed face. Nothing is bothering him and he's just having a good time. Notice the differences in the angry cat's face. His ears are flat against his head, pointing backwards, and his eyes are more focused. His whiskers are also more focused and forward-facing. Next is the scaredy cat. You can tell he's scared because his ears are flat and his eyes are dilated so he can see everything going on around him. Notice the difference in positioning of the ears between the angry cat and the scared cat. The playful cat is similar to the happy cat, but his eyes are more dilated because he's intently watching what's around him. His whiskers are pointed forward because he's focused and ready to attack. And lastly is our content cat. This cat also looks like the happy cat, but more relaxed. He's giving us the slow blink and is probably purring. Now that you've watched this video, it's quiz time. Please click the link in the description of this video and answer a few questions about what you've learned. After that, send me an email at jenna@rhumanesociety.org to schedule a time to come in for a shelter tour and walk a dog with me. Thursdays work best for me as that's when I'm working on-site in Delta each week. Please note in your email that you are volunteering at the Delta facility as I manage orientations at both locations. After you've done that, you'll officially be a V-2 volunteer. Thank you so much for your interest in volunteering with us, and I hope to see you in person soon.